It's time for Mac Geek Gab, and listener Bob brings us our quick tip of the week by reminding us that Apple put into macOS the Wi-Fi or wireless diagnostics. You option click on the Wi-Fi icon in the menu bar and choose Open Wireless Diagnostics. And then from that, you select Window and Scan to find all the Wi-Fi access points around your Mac. And that'll include the network name, the signal strength, the noise, the channel, the band, the channel width. And you can then go to Wireless Diagnostics Window Performance and get a real-time graph of your Wi-Fi connections with transfer rate and all the other stuff. So you can walk around with your Mac and watch the signal change and all of that stuff. Check out Wireless Diagnostics Window and see all the entries there. And there's some cool stuff. More quick tips like this and cool stuff found today on Mac Geek Gab 992 for Monday, July 24th, 2022. 2023! Greetings, folks, and welcome to Mac Geek Gab 992 in 2023. I don't know what blew me off.
Pick a year in a year. Don't tell me what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter. This is the show where you send in, regardless of the year, you send in your questions, your tips, your cool stuff found. We usually answer your questions, but today we're really focusing on a few quick tips that are key and some cool stuff found that we've been piling up for a while. The goal is, regardless of how we organize the agenda, that each of us, me, Pete, you, all of us together, which is usually weekly. Sponsors for this episode include HelloFresh.com/MGG50, where code MGG50 gets you, guess what, 50% off, plus free shipping. And Notion.com/MacGeekGab, where you can go for a limited time to try Notion projects for free. We'll talk more about both of those in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, before I head off to Macstock, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in Pensacola, Florida, it's Pilot Pete. Dave, you actually broke up for about 15 seconds there in the middle of
not
that.
To the people listening.
Discard. Yeah.
Not to the people listening.
Okay.
No, I'm telling you, because I get to hear what people hear.
The podcast, that's right. The podcast.
The actual podcast is totally fine. Yeah. Okay. I saw a little hiccup with the
So
with the
for
bandwidth.
the video, folks, we're aware of it and we're moving on. Pilot Pete here in Pensacola. Dave, I want to take a minute here and say on that opening quick tip, folks, when you do that, the window comes up, you click on Open Wireless Diagnostics, there's a window that comes up that's continue and all that. Ignore that. Dave talked about it. The menu says window. Go click on that and pull it down. Yeah. Because it's so tempting. That's why I never found it for the longest time. It's so tempting to click on that continue, and this is going to take time. And so, you know, right. It's real tempting to go on that. So it's the menu at the top that you want to go grab window and pull that stuff down. There's amazing. There's a plethora, for the fancy word of the day, of options in there to find your wireless settings.
Yeah. Cool. I love it. Yeah. I love it. We do have more quick tips to go through. And
Tony wrote in with a cool one.
Yeah, Tony says, it took me a while to notice that I could do this, but first, in watch settings, so this is on your Apple Watch, you go and enable dictation. So that's step one. Then, when you're looking at a message that you've received on your watch, tap in what looks like an empty field with a faded iMessage, like the word iMessage faded in it. That's where you can start doing like the little, palm scratchy kind of thing that, you start sort of scratching out letters. But in the lower right corner is a microphone icon, and you can dictate your response right there on your watch. So you don't have to draw out the letters. And there you go. Great tip. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
I
look for when I do that, icon. I say out, Dave, thanks, period. I will get right on that, period. starting with the list in this order, colon,
Yeah.
1 period, that sort of. So Siri's good about not having to do that, but I find it is much more accurate when I do that.
Yeah, I remember, I guess it was iOS 16 where Apple said we didn't need to do that anymore. And I stopped doing it and then realized I still kind of want to do this more. So I continue to do that now. Yeah, it's really not a terrible habit to be in. Where I notice that I do it is if I have someone else in the car with me and I'm replying via CarPlay, because that's where I'm doing most of my dictation, especially for like replies to messages. And they're like, wow, you're really anal about the commas and the exclamation points and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, yeah, it's,
It can change the entire meaning of a sentence. If
absolutely.
The punctuation is wrong. As
That's
I referred to in the pre-show, there's a book called Eats, Shoots, and Leaves.
It's about elephants, isn't it?
It's Panda bears.
Panda bears, that's
Panda bears,
it. Yeah.
It eats that's the joke. The panda bear walks into the bar and eats, shoots, and leaves, and everybody's dead. Yeah, because of the misplaced comma.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the Oxford comma hopefully has no place in that phrase. So
exactly. So
yeah.
Hey, I've got another quick tip. This week comes from me from a self-inflicted stupidity wound.
Okay.
What happened was I was flying my drone and I wanted to clean everything off of it and reformat the card. So I did, and I did it in the drone itself. It gives you an option to do that. And then when I put the micro SD card into the adapter and then put it into my computer, I found that it was named Untitled. And I'm like, well, that's not what I name it, but okay. And then I tried to rename it and it wouldn't let me rename it. I'm like, oh, what's going on? Tried disk utility, and then it hit me. The micro SD card does not have a little switch on it, but the SD cards do, and the SD card adapter does as well. So at some point I managed to slide the little slider that locks your ability to rename the volume name, in this case the SD card. So I put that back to unlock, stuck the card back in, right-clicked it, and was able to rename my SD card. So,
yeah. Okay. Yep. Yep. That's.
But rename was grayed out. I'm going, what's going on here?
Why is it grayed out? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Know what I'm doing? Stop it.
Yeah, stop it. Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I like it. That's good, man.
So,
yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll have to remember this. That's good.
Yeah.
I have a quick tip that comes from my own, from a bad habit that I developed. It's really the right way to say it. I noticed recently, and I mentioned this on Business Brain last week, so my apologies for the duplicate if you listen to both shows, but I figured it was important enough to share here because it's been truly like life-changing in not a massive way, but in a meaningful way. I noticed a couple of weeks ago that because I have an iPhone, I have lots of opportunities in my day where I use my iPhone to keep myself from being what I'll call bored, right? Waiting in line, doing all those things. And I know the value of having downtime. I call it brain percolation time, right? Like when you're in the shower or you're driving, right? Any of those sort of routine hypnotic things, you wind up, your brain winds up working in the background and like solving problems and coming up with ideas. And this is valuable brain time. And with our phones, it's very easy to take that away from ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And what I noticed is I was, and for years have been missing out on what I call urinal inspiration. And that is every time I went to pee, I'd grab my phone and I would be looking at my phone while I was peeing. Because listen, I've been doing this for, over 50 years. I kind of know how it works. And, I don't necessarily need, to be like fully focused on it. But that's the beauty of it is in those moments. And just in the last couple of weeks, I have had so many great ideas and like worked out so many little things. I'm actually finding that like my overall like general well-being, I'm happier, believe it or not, because I'm giving myself those moments periodically throughout every day. So I know this sounds weird to say, look, prioritize urinal inspiration, but I think it might help. So it certainly has helped me. So I share. And if you want to experiment with it, I absolutely encourage the experiment. So
there you go.
It's as close as I'm going to get to saying should, Pete.
Right.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep. So yeah. All those little moments, they're good for us. I think, the downtime moments. Yeah.
The screen time, we're all guilty of it, right? I mean,
totally.
The vast majority of us are very guilty of too much screen time. And, and it's changing how society interacts, and will make the AI takeover of the world that much easier.
That much easier, right? Yeah. And it's not just changing how society interacts. It is doing that. Yeah. It's also changing how we interact with ourselves. Like that's the part where I'm trying to be aware of all of it. I fail at it constantly. Like I will say that even this little change, it's been a couple of weeks. It's only been the past couple of days where I don't actively have to remind myself, hey, put your phone back in your pocket. Like, this is the moment where you're not doing this anymore. Remember,
right.
Like it's just the habit is so strong. Yeah. So
it is. And we've gotten to the point where at some point I finally said, all right, no more phones at the dinner table.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's, you can let it go for 30 minutes. If someone texts you, you can get
totally
back to
fine.
them,
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. All right. Ben has a quick tip for us. He says, once in a blue moon, I right-click the trash and empty the trash, but nothing happens. The quick fix is to quit the dock. I never even knew that this would fix the trash emptying issue, but I learned, you learn something new every day. And that's the point of the show. To do so, open activity monitors, search for dock, select, and quit the process. The quit process command is in the view menu, which is odd to me. I would have put it in the file menu. The keyboard shortcut is Command Option Q. The dock will quit and relaunch automatically, and then the empty trash command works for me again. Fascinating, Ben. Thank you for that. That's news to me, and I love it.
At the risk of inflicting this on myself and angering the gods, I've never experienced that. I've never had the trash non-empty. I've had things say you can't access that file because it's in the trash, or the trash is emptying right now, so you can't do something. But I've never had the trash ignore me.
Interesting. Interesting. Huh. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Well, at least not the Mac trash. I've had other trash ignore me, but that's a different show.
Well, I've also ignored the trash too.
There you go.
And Lisa will remind me of that sometimes.
Yes.
So,
right.
Yep. Bob has a quick tip that sort of harkens back to episode 990. Bob says, where we were talking about remembering ideas. And Bob says, before PDAs and smartphones, I carried a small shirt pocket-sized book that I could write ideas into because I found that I would forget them or forget some key detail, etc. I would also capture ideas from computer books I was browsing in a bookstore. Oh, interesting. I kept the book and pen on my bedside nightstand for those middle-of-the-night inspirations. I abandoned the book when PDAs came along. My first was a Handspring Edge in 2001. Nice. Then I moved to the iPod Touch for a while, and now, of course, the iPhone and Apple Watch. I get ideas in the middle of the night, and I'll write it down, generally by sending myself an email. When I'm riding my bike or out for a walk, I currently use my Apple Watch and say, hey, S-Lady, remind me when I get home to whatever, and the watch sets a geolocation triggered reminder that shows up in my iPhone Reminders app. Yeah. And he says, of course, same as you, not all my ideas are great when I review them, but that's fine. Like, the idea is you captured it. But yeah, I like the remind me when I get home. That's you
buried the headline there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I will frequently, hey, tomorrow morning at 9:00, remind me.
Yeah.
Or, something along those lines. I hadn't thought about geofencing it.
Yeah. I hadn't either until a couple of weeks ago. I was driving to a gig and we were using the house drum set. So I had room in my car. Our guitar player and I went together because it was about 2 hours away or whatever. And, he got in the car and, settled in because we were going to be in the car for 4 hours, 2 there, 2 back. And he like put his keys into like the pocket in the door of the car and all that. And he's like, hey man, help me remember to get my keys out of your car when we get back to my house. And I'm like, well, you'll need to unlock your door. He's like, yeah, but I'll mess around in the studio shed for a little bit, and then you'll be long gone before I realize I don't have the keys to the house. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm like, well, use your phone and set a geolocated reminder that when we get back to your house, and of course, he didn't have home set. He didn't have a My Contact record set. He didn't have an address set. So we had lots to do over the 2 hours where we were driving together. So it was fine. I just kind of, coached him through it or whatever while I was driving.
It shouldn't take you 2 hours to set your home and your...
No, it did not. No, it did not. But it gave us fodder for conversation. Yeah.
Sure.
So, but yeah, so that's sort of the bonus quick tip is go in and set a My Contact record for yourself. If you haven't done that already, you can do it on your phone or on your Mac. And then that way you can do these sort of geolocation things without having to then go through the trouble that our guitar player went through. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I got one last one that I realized recently not everyone knows about. It came up at our Zoom hangout. I mentioned that I was leaving my therapist's office and he says, hey, I've got a question for you. I was like, yeah. He's like, how come there's no app that I can use to like call 911 and send my location if I was in trouble? He's like, I was just having a walk with my wife or whatever, and we were talking about this, and we were both like, why doesn't this exist? Like these devices have this. And I was like, yep, it's right there in your phone. And so I showed him and figured I would share here too that your phone does have this capability. You on sort of current and late model iPhones, I think anything from iPhone 8 and forward, you hold the volume up button on one side of the phone and then the button on the other side of the phone, whatever that we are supposed to call that. And it will put your phone into the emergency mode where you can see someone's medical ID, but you can also just swipe to call, or you can swipe to power off, but you can press to call 911. And of course, it has your location and all of that stuff too. So just wanted to make sure everybody knew about that because I think it's important, right, Pete?
Yeah, and I hope you charged your therapist for the time it took to,
if only. Yeah.
Work the discount, barter that out.
If only. All right. Our first sponsor is HelloFresh, where you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You get to skip the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And this is why it's America's #1 meal kit. Lisa and I have loved HelloFresh at home. It means that we get to cook together. We've had our niece living with us, and it really makes it easy for all three of us to work together on the cooking because they send you these pre-portioned ingredients, right, which are nice because they help cut down on food waste. And then also these step-by-step instructions to make cooking a breeze and be fun and not a chore because it's not just one person driving the bus. All three of you or all four of us or however many people you've got, you just take a look at the recipe and you just start going through it. It's like, okay, I got step number 1. Great. I'll do step number 2. And you're having this sort of combined experience before you ever even sit down at the table. It's awesome. And HelloFresh gets you what you want with options when it comes to what to make for dinner. It's not just the same old thing all the time. They have 40 recipes to choose from every single week, so you'll never get bored and can always find something new to try and love. All their recipes feature quality proteins, fresh produce, and plans for many lifestyles, so it's no wonder why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/MGG50 and use code MGG50 for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, it's HelloFresh.com/MGG50. Use code MGG50 for 50% off and free shipping. Check it out. I think you're going to love it. And our thanks to HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, for sponsoring this episode. Next up is Notion. We talk on this show about all the tools that we can use to be efficient, and project management tools are supposed to help us move faster and stay organized, right? But if you're still jumping between like 50 different tabs and different apps to do your job, then maybe that means you haven't found the right tool yet. And that's where our sponsor Notion comes in. And today I'm excited to share that they just launched Notion Projects, which includes new powerful ways to manage projects and leverage the power of their built-in AI features too. Notion Projects combines project management with your docs, your knowledge base, and AI, so you can stop jumping between tools and stop paying too much for them too. You get to do this all in just one workspace. You can do everything you need, from brainstorming to drafting launch plans to organizing sprints and keeping everyone on deadline. It's so handy to be able to use this. You've got to check it out. You can do your most efficient work with Notion Projects, and you can try it for free today at notion.com/Mac Geek Gab. That's all lowercase letters, right? Notion.com/Mac Geek Gab. And when you use our link, of course, you're supporting our show, and that's great for all of us. Go right now to notion.com/Mac Geek Gab, and our thanks to Notion for sponsoring this episode. And while I got you here, I want to recommend another show. We all know Leo Laporte, right? And he is the host of a show called This Week in Tech, which is probably one of the longest running tech shows in the world. They started This Week in Tech in 2005, just like we did here with Mac Geek Gab. And in the 18 years since, they've covered every major tech story with some of the biggest names, the smartest people covering technology every week. It's a different roundtable, a different panel of experts talking about the week's tech news. And they have a lot of fun while they're doing it. And I've joined them for this sometimes. It is a blast. They deal with the biggest issues in the world, not just computing and Windows and Mac and Linux, but AI and Twitter and search and social and on and on and on and on. Of course, it's all for you every week. This Week in Tech. You can find out more by going to twit.tv and subscribing to This Week in Tech. And our thanks to Leo and the team for doing this swap with us.
All right. Well, we got some cool stuff found coming your way now. And David wrote to us about show 988. He says, I noticed that you asked for information about a Qi charging mouse. I purchased one a couple years ago that I really like. It's called the Corsair Dark Core RGB Pro SE, that's Sierra Echo, available through Amazon. And we'll put that link in the show notes. One thing I like about it is it has RGB LEDs inside, so you can customize the look. You can set a single color or change its color depending on which mode it's in. You can also map custom functions to the buttons through something like Keyboard Maestro or presumably Better Touch Tool. It's currently listed on Amazon for $81, though he got it for a little less when it was on sale. He says one weird and frustrating quirk is that it won't connect to an iPad, but he was able to do so, I think, with a USB dock later in time. But it doesn't do it via the Bluetooth.
Got it. It's not a Bluetooth mouse. It's its own wireless dongle type of mouse. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So, and I'm seeing it today for $70 on Amazon. You know, these prices change every day, folks. Obviously, we'll put a link in the show notes so you can see what the price is the day you get to hear about this.
Yeah. But what is it? I think Honey is the one that will track prices dropping for you, right?
Yeah.
So there we go. There's something else to put in the notes.
No, I'll put it in there. They were a sponsor here for a while when they were doing some brand building. So I'll put the MGG link in. I think it gets you something extra. They're not a sponsor now, but I think it was joinhoney.com/MGG if I'm not
Honey
mistaken.
has saved me dollars over the years on numerous occasions. They'll watch for price drops, and then other times they'll put in codes when you go to check out. If you have that extension put into your browser, you'll get those codes.
Yeah, it's interesting with Honey. I certainly am a fan of it and I install it, but I also remove it at times or turn it off at times. Well, because it does, like, intentionally sort of gets in the way. And sometimes, like when I'm booking a flight or something, it's like, dude, I need, like, go. Like, I wish, and maybe I can, I wish I could tell it, go away for 15 minutes. Like, that's all I need is just give me the next 15 minutes without you. And then I want you back, you know, like Michael Jackson and his brother sang, right? You know, I want you back.
Boy, it sure seems to me there's some way to script that, but that's bigger brain than mine.
Oh, wait a minute. Can you script Safari extensions?
Yeah.
That would be the trick, right?
Yeah.
I should look at that. Huh?
Yeah.
There might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. All right, you got me thinking.
Hey, Chat GPT.
Yeah. Actually, that's not a bad place to start with that. Yeah, we've got some Chat GPT and AI cool stuff found coming up. The next one, though, is not that, but it is something I never heard about before from listener Matt, who says he tells us about Expanso, which is a free GitHub-hosted text expansion tool like Text Expander and others, but is hosted on GitHub, free but open to donations, and cross-platform, Mac, Windows, and Linux. You can see it at expanso.org. I haven't installed it yet, but man, it sure seems like if you aren't already committed to a text expansion tool, I would go jump and check this out. Yeah, it looks it looks very. Not only does it look like what he says, but it also, like, even just the website for it is very well fleshed out. It feels like a commercial product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And shell and script support. In other words, it can take information as today's date. And
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
Right. Yeah. No,
Date
it when he says it's like Text Expander, I see why, because Text Expander has a lot of these sort of scripting-ish things in it. So yeah, it's worth checking out. So,
Right.
and then of course just because it is free doesn't mean you don't have to. It doesn't mean you can't pay, right? You don't have to pay, but
Right.
you could choose to pay, and that's not a bad thing. So,
No, and it's worth it.
yeah, I know.
looks-
I'm stoked
yeah.
about it. Yep.
So-
Donna brings us our next one. Assuming we're done with that one, yeah, Pete?
Yeah.
Okay. Donna brings us our next one, and it is the Aldi. She found it at Aldi. It is a wood grain wireless charging clock. And this is one that's worth clicking on. And if for no other reason, these cool stuff found episodes are a fantastic way to
Wallet
experience
drain.
them.
A fantastic wallet drain. Just kidding.
No, I don't mean wallet drain. I mean a good reason to go and subscribe to our Mac Geek Gab newsletter at macgeekgab.com, because you get all the links that we are putting in the show notes delivered right to your email box. And we really don't spam you. I know I say that all the time. I'm happy to say that I have yet to be a liar on that. So, I'll let you know when we've changed our minds on that.
So the neat thing about this, and I know the vast majority of you are listening and not looking, but this wood grain clock looks like a block of wood with the time and the temperature printed on the front of it.
Yeah. And then it's a cheat pad on the top of it.
Exactly. That's the other thing, is it's hard to see until you look at the photo where the phone is on top of it. But
Right.
yeah, that looks great. It's always like when I'm watching the NFL game, it's like, man, how'd they get out there and paint that, 8 yards to go, second and 8
Yeah,
on the field,
Right. Yeah.
It looks like it's there in the middle of the wood for no apparent reason.
Yep.
Really, that's a neat display.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
The next thing, speaking of watching the NFL or watching anything, Pete, you've got one for us, yeah?
I do. We were looking for outdoor movie screens back when COVID was big and we couldn't go anywhere very much. And I didn't get one then because they were hard to get. But recently put my hands on a Kodak giant inflatable projector screen. I got mine at Best Buy. From the bottom corner of the stand to the top corner of diagonally of the screen, it's 17 feet. The screen itself is about 14 feet diagonal.
Okay.
And it comes with a pump like a kid's bounce house. The
All right.
pump runs quietly in the background.
I was going to say, is the pump quiet enough that it doesn't bother you when you're watching TV?
It is.
Huh.
Now, that being said, what we did use was the Sonos Move for the speaker, which was okay for 2 or 3 people, but I need to find a better sound system for to really thump us when we're watching, Top Gun Maverick or something like that, or
And
Slapshot.
were you connecting to the Sonos Move over Bluetooth? Is that
We
right?
were, yeah.
So I wonder if
it would drive it faster or harder. With
I mean, I had it later in the list, but I will jump it up.
Okay.
I was going to talk about the JBL Flip, which I will now talk about.
Yeah.
But all of the JBL speakers are able to be like paired together. And so you can just over Bluetooth, right? Sort of kind of like you can do with Sonos, but but not over Wi-Fi, right? Like this is
right.
And so the Flip 6 is the 6th gen of their portable Bluetooth speakers. This is a small speaker. It's like the pill shaped, if you will, speaker. Yep. And I've been messing with this, and it's great. It's waterproof. It's IPX7, I believe. It's got a ton of battery life. It sounds great, but it has what JBL calls JBL Party Boost. And so I wonder if for your outdoor movie viewing, and I haven't tried this because we have an outdoor screen we bought too on Amazon for like $100. It was like a 100-inch screen or whatever. It works great. But I've thought about doing this where you get like a few of these JBL speakers and put one next to each person or in between each pair of people.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've got them all linked up together, well, now you don't have to broadcast sound to cover your, entire backyard. You just kind of give people, it's like, oh, you need a speaker over here? Here's a speaker. Here's a speaker. And I mean, these aren't super inexpensive. They're $99. So, you're going to it does add up. But if you've got a few of these, and it might be the kind of thing, like we each keep a Flip in our cars, right? Because it's great. The batteries last forever. And then if you're out and about, you find yourself at the beach or, some kind of picnic type scenario, boom, you're good to go. You just, oh yeah, you want some sound? Great. We'll just bring the speaker. It's awesome. So, if you've got a few of these anyway, then you can, pull them together. So yeah, no, the Flip 6 is awesome.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, that party boost mode might solve your
right. Yeah.
Your issue there. Yeah. I don't know. It's worth. There's always a way to solve these problems.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. So there we go.
Right.
Yes. Let me see who and what is next. It looks like listener Greg is next with another piece of software called MakePass. Greg tells us that, oh no, I got to get back to my notes. He says it's a piece of software that makes passes that go in your wallet. He says it requires a subscription. I bought the $16 subscription for a year because I wanted the full features, but it works great and appears that the privacy is good with this app too. So basically, you can take your membership cards, your tickets, anything with a barcode and load it into your Apple Wallet on your phone so that you don't have to carry the paper thing with the barcode or even like the card. Like if you've got a membership card, like he said, that you would put like literally physically in your wallet, take its barcode and turn it into a pass that lives in your Apple Wallet. And now it's always with you as long as your phone is with you and charged, obviously, but yeah, it's a pretty cool.
I like that a lot.
I love the idea. Yeah.
How many times, I use, here we go. Another cool stuff found, I guess. I think we might have talked about this one time before. Genius Scan is an app that I've used to make, take a photo of a document and it turns it into a PDF or as a JPEG or anything along those lines.
Sure.
But there are many times when I put something in Genius Scan, I would much rather have it in my Apple Wallet, and having the ability to do that with MakePass.
I like this idea.
Putting the barcode into your Apple Wallet. Yeah.
I'm into this.
That's nice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's, I know. I never even thought of it. I mean, I'm sure I have thought of it in frustration in those moments of like, gosh, I wish, this one thing that I use occasionally, like my library card. How often do I go to I rent books or I borrow books from the library using Libby, right? But if I'm going to go into the library, it's like, oh my gosh, where is my library card? Like, oh, I have no idea. Like it's probably in like the wallet that I keep for all of the things that I never bring with me, And so to just be able to load those all into my phone, I love it. Yeah. So there you go. That's that's where we're at with this. The next one comes from Blake, and this sort of started as the result of a conversation in Discord. Blake in Arizona was having, it was really a conversation that followed on from our how do I remove things and clear up space on my Apple TV, which seems now clearly to be a recurring topic here. It's affecting a lot of us. My guess is it's affecting way more of us than already know, because if we haven't looked, we don't know. Or we haven't had symptoms, we don't know. So Blake says, I did further digging it, and for me, the apps didn't save any, removing apps didn't save much space because I didn't have many apps to begin with, but it saved enough to stop the freezing. But the overall experience and feel was still laggy. Further research suggested screensavers, which we talked about in a previous episode. And after digging a bit more, I saw a recommendation for an app for 99 cents called SpaceReclaimer. And I ran that app and was able to reclaim over 8 gigabytes of space on his Apple TV. My guess is this would work on your iPhone and iPad as well as the Apple TV, because we have seen all of, where it just fills up and it won't clean itself out. The garbage collection that we as users would want to happen on our iOS-based devices, so iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, does not happen the way we would like it to. And so it's kind of a bummer to have to pay 99 cents for something that Apple should be doing. Yeah, there's my should for you. Yeah. But they're not doing it. So 99 cents is a small price to pay to have this. And so I have not bought it yet, but I fully intend to the next time that this kind of thing comes up for me, and I know it will.
I should remember after this show is over to go into Discord. There was actually a thread in the MGG help desk and Discord this morning talking about that very thing. How do I free up? Yeah. Find out what space is being used and free it up. Again, something that should be native to the Apple OS, Apple TV OS is not. And there are a couple apps out there. One, I guess, is now defunct, but there's another app in there that I was trying to answer the question on the fly without going in and playing with it in my Apple TV. So I gave him a link to an article. It was a few years old. One was dead. One is not. But
right.
Yeah. No, let's hope that it works as well on iOS, because I would love to clean out photos from 2 years ago on my phone. In messages in particular is where it seems, the cruft in there is just
for sure
mind-boggling.
Yeah. So. Pete, I promised that we had some AI chat GPT things, and listener Tony kicks us off with this with a shortcut that's been around for a little bit, a few months. It was published, I believe it was over at Mac Stories, was kind of the first place that I heard about it. It's called S-GPT is the shortcut, and it's pretty cool. It's a shortcut for your phone that uses ChatGPT to take your text input, prompt it into ChatGPT, and spit out its response. So you get ChatGPT via your shortcuts, and you get access to it that way. And the people that have been using it say that it is a game changer. So I have not put it on there yet, on my phone yet, but that's really just an oversight. It's it's been on the list for a while.
I forget what I did. I pay the ChatGPT fee, so I get the premium. And was there not a shortcut for putting it in messages too? What was you have to lead it in somehow though. Do you remember what that is? Yeah,
it's like a text expander type shortcut. I think I use /GPT or something, but it only works on my Mac. But in any text field on your Mac, it's just sort of there. But there might be an app now for the phone. I don't know. Send in your stuff. It's been a little while since we talked about ChatGPT. Just because we try to dig into topics and then sort of let them breathe for a little bit, and then we'll come back to them and we pile the stuff up that you send in like we're doing now. So. But yeah, no, this SGPT thing that, it takes a little bit of time to set up because you need to go and fetch your API key. One piece of advice, I know that someone's going to tell me that this violates all kinds of security practices. I don't think you're violating any terms of service, but it does violate good security practices. When you get that API key from ChatGPT or anywhere else, they will show it to you once. The idea is they show it to you and then you put it into whatever the app or services that you want to give it to, and then you never get to see it again. And that keeps anyone else from ever seeing it again because it essentially bypasses your password, right? That API key lets someone use your account as long as they have that key. So
Right.
there is absolutely a security, security repercussions to this, right? I take those API keys because I know they're a pain in the neck to generate, and I don't want to have to like expire one to add a new service and then have to go to another service and re-add it back in. I put those API keys in 1Password.
Bingo. Ditto. Absolutely.
Yep. So that's, again, I know that there's probably
It's
some
secure
world.
in there. It's secure in 1Password.
That's the thing. I trust it. Yeah, exactly. If somebody gets into 1Password, I'm screwed in every way. So it's totally fine.
Right.
Yeah. It is, a deck chair off the Titanic to have the API key for ChatGPT in there. That's kind of my feeling on it. So, yeah. The next
More AI.
AI thing I have is Opera now has Aria, which is Opera's browser AI, all fully integrated into the Opera browser. So you get instant access to ChatGPT and all of that stuff, and it's web connected because it's right there in your browser. So if you are someone who finds yourself using ChatGPT often, using the Opera browser to do this is gonna be an easy way to make that happen. So just like to, it's cool stuff found. I like to share. It's how it works, So
nice.
Then
Robert wrote in with
Robert.
more AI tools.
All the AI tools. In fact, he found a link for us that has all the AI tools and ChatGPT prompts in one article. And I promise, as soon as I can copy the link, I will put it. This is my one issue with notes: is it makes it really difficult to do anything with links. Yeah, it's. But I swear we will get it there somehow. Yeah. So, but yeah. Yeah, he's got, all of these. God, this is really bumming me out that I couldn't prep this the way I wanted to prep it.
Yeah. There it comes.
Advance.
I think you've got it now.
I think I've got it now. Yes,
I
got
it
it now.
He's got it.
Yeah. So it's this article over, it's at artificialcorner.com, but it's a reposting of a Medium article that lists all of these tools like Chat PDF and all kinds of things over there at Medium. So we will link to this. And now that I have the link on my clipboard, I am putting it in the show notes as I speak because, by golly, no one needs to go through what I just went through.
And you, dear listener, can have it in your email if you subscribed to.
That is correct.
The mailing list.
The mailing list, yeah. MacGeekGab.com. That's all you got to do. The next thing is from Ral605, which is a heads up or a reminder that Zapier, I call Zapier the glue of the internet. It's like shortcuts that live in the cloud, right? But it's platform agnostic, or I don't want to say platform agnostic. It works with pretty much every platform out there. It's certainly not limited to Apple devices by any stretch. So Zapier is great. We use Zapier for all kinds of things. I take the show notes after they've been sort of finalized, and I have a Zapier thing that grabs them and saves them to a folder. It does all these things, and because we do the show notes in Google Docs, so it grabs the Google Docs show notes and saves it to a file on my Dropbox, actually, which then syncs to other places for me. And so I'm able to keep them even if, Google Docs goes away. I know I've got the archived show notes in a special folder. That's just a drop in the bucket for what Zapier can do. And Ral605 reminds us or tells us that OpenAI and ChatGPT can be linked via Zapier to all kinds of other things. So, you've got these different services like, Google Docs and Dropbox don't work together, but Zapier glues them together. That's why I call it the glue of the internet. So now you've got OpenAI can be one of those pieces that Zapier can glue to other things. And so if you haven't messed with Zapier, that's a cool thing. You know, we just did that shortcuts hangout and Zapier never came up. We wound up talking about a bunch of other things. And yet we probably could have done 90 minutes on just Zapier.
Well, there you go. There's your topic for your next hangout.
For the next one. Yeah. It's really.
That looks really cool.
Yep.
You know, we did the one on video and I became a channels user out of that, which is now my primary means of watching television.
There you go.
But this looks like a primary means of using AI.
Yeah.
And,
one of my primary means of using AI is to write blog posts. And listener Ari wrote in, and when I say blog posts, I mean very specifically the Mac Geek Gab show notes. And Ari wrote in and asked, you know, how are you writing blog posts with ChatGPT and how good is it? And I would say for me, the quick answer is it is good enough to do a rough draft. Is really, that's as far as I've found I'm comfortable trusting it today. But that rough draft creation is something that I don't generally take the time to do, which means then I have nothing to edit and therefore nothing gets published. You know, I would put together for, 18 years, almost 18 years, I put together very, very sparse descriptions of what happened in the show. And I know that that's not great for people searching for things, even just searching on our website, but also potentially SEO, bringing in new listeners. It's not good for anybody. And so now what we do is we take the transcript of the show, which is, of course, AI generated, and then we feed the transcript into ChatGPT and tell it to distill that down into 2 paragraphs. Actually, we have an engine called Auphonic that distills it down into about 6 or 8 paragraphs. I then take that, feed it back into ChatGPT. And again, you can be transformative with this. So it's fine to just keep telling ChatGPT to continually transform your results. So I feed that back in and I say, all right, great. Hey, and I have a text expander snippet for this, but it could be, what's the other thing called? It was Expanso snippet. So I feed that back in and my snippet says, take this and summarize it down to 2 paragraphs of the Mac Geek Gab podcast hosted by, and I list whoever is the people that were in the show. It's for this one, it'll be by, Pilot Pete and Dave Hamilton. Keep it punchy, keep it interesting, and omit all mention of sponsors, right? Because the sponsors, of course, in the transcript, and of course we link the sponsors in the show notes and all that, but I don't need the narrative to include the sponsors. It sort of breaks up the flow, and I wound up editing it out every time. So I was like, well, let's just skip that. That's fine. And it comes up, that gets me really, really close. And then from there, I do some minor edits. But I guess thinking about this now, the advice I would give is figuring out what those prompts are and then really honing down your prompts so that you get yourself to a point where you're not editing as much. And one way to do that is to be aware of what you are editing repeatedly as you do each of these things. And like for me, I knew I was taking out the sponsors every time. So I was like, well, wait a minute. I can just tell ChatGPT, don't include mention of the sponsors, and then I don't have to edit that out. But add that to your prompts, and you will start to build a prompt that really gets you there. So just sort of paying attention and honing it down. And then I'll tell it once it does that, I say, great. Now build me a 120 character meta description because, WordPress wants that. And it does that too. And then it's just like, I'm good to go. And it takes a little time, but it doesn't take a whole lot of mental energy, which is kind of the key. And so I can, it leaves me time for Urinal inspiration, Pete. So
right. And it also does it grammatically correct. So that's a nice thing about mostly, but yeah. I find I do the same thing for my show.
Yep.
Occasionally it'll get something wrong. It'll put like the interviewee in first person as opposed to negative. Those are the things that you have to fix.
Yeah. That's one of the things I put in my prompt now is make it third person. Yeah.
Oh, There you go. Okay.
Right? You know.
So, yeah. So I found it, but it does a really nice job about hitting things that were even briefly mentioned, but were very funny. I was like, oh, okay, let's emphasize that. And then I tell it, make it very persuasive for someone to want to listen or things along those lines. And I've also found it useful when I write letters. All right, these are the 3 points I want to cover. Give me a letter. And I found that it writes wonderful letters.
Yeah.
So, no, it's such a useful tool when you start employing it, play with it a little bit, and you'll find that it does such a nice job.
Yeah, let yourself play. That I think that's really the advice that I can give is the first time you use it, you even if you use it for a purpose that ChatGPT is good at, and you might not, like you might find, oh, this is a terrible way to use ChatGPT. Great. Don't give up just because you tried a way and found it to be terrible. Know that that's terrible. Try something else would be the kind of the thing. So,
let me offer this. You should write to us at feedback@macgeekgab.com with a way that you find it's very useful that we haven't covered here.
Did you say feedback@macgeekgab.com, Pete?
I did say feedback@macgeekgab.com.
That is one way. The other way is you could join macgeekgab.com/Discord. We have an AI channel there where we discuss all this stuff, so you would get to learn from each other, which is I love learning from each other. Like this is my favorite part of the show, as I'm sure is like painfully obvious at times. So. Speaking of learning things, listener Jamie has a travel hack, cool stuff found thing to share. AP?
Yeah, he did. He wrote in, and I found that I had already done one of these things. It's basically this. I'm not seeing Jamie's letter, but I'll tell you what it is. He sent us a link, and we put it in the show notes. It's a hotel thermostat hack. Okay. And he used one for what's called an Amana cooling heating unit that is usually it's like a split, usually under a window is the Amana ones. Yep. The other one is Honeywell/Incom thermostat. I put a link in there for the hack on that. It's great. He likes to turn on the Amana and make sure that it has the fan on all the time so that he's got white noise that he sleeps through, the children running down the hall and that sort of thing, which is great. And he does put in his video, by the way, be sure to put it back the way you found it when you're done. You know, that's kind of the courtesy thing to do. The Honeywell one in there is also under the brand Incom, INNCOM. And I put that hack in there. That's the one that's been most annoying to me over the years.
I want to hear about this hack, Pete, because that one, as soon as I saw the picture of it, I knew that I needed to know what we're about to talk about. So, So
what frequently these hotels will do is have a motion sensor on their thermostat.
Yes.
Well, guess what you don't do a lot of when you're sleeping? Move.
Yeah, right.
Some people do. Some people do, and good on you if you can do that and sleep. But some people don't. I'm one who doesn't. So I wake up in the middle of the night either freezing or in a sweat.
Yeah, right.
Because the thermostat has decided, well, there's nobody in here. I don't need to cool the room or heat the room to the desired temperature. And as soon as I get up to change the temperature, it's like, it kicks on.
It kicks back on. Yeah, you don't have to do anything. Yeah, right.
Son of a gun. Well, I'll be up again in 2 hours, or I can apply this hack. And in this case, it's in the video, but you touch the display, hold the display button, touch the on off, and then hit the volume or the temperature down, I think. And it'll go into a VIP mode or an LEN. I don't know what LEN stands for, but then you can set it to override. You're setting it to override the motion detector.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. This is the best tip you've ever shared, Pete. Right. I love this. Wow.
But again, don't be a jerk. Put it back the way you found it when you're done.
Yeah.
So, but there's the links in there, the show notes to get to these two different types of thermostats to make the room more comfortable for you.
Wow.
You're paying for the room.
Yeah.
Use it as you see fit, and then put it back when you're done. And everybody's happy.
I walked into a hotel room in New York. This was 15 years ago. And it was, a July or August day. It was hot. And I walked in and the room must have been 90 degrees, right? But I knew I was going out for the night. I was in New York to attend an event, so it was just like, I'm going to throw my stuff and literally walk out the door because I got to go, meet these people for dinner at this event or whatever. And but I was like, I can't get back here with it being 90 degrees. And because I know when I get back, I'm just going to go straight to sleep. Like I'm in this room for one reason, and it's like I'm barely going to use the lights.
So you set the thermostat down and left?
No, right? I started to, and I looked, and it was already set down, and I was like, oh crap! Like this is how it's like. There's nothing I can do because the motion sensor, like as soon as I walked in the room, it kicked on because it sensed my presence.
Yeah. Like, there's somebody here.
All right, I got to think about this. And I saw where the air vent was. And I'm like, okay. So, and don't do this at home or in a hotel, but I'll tell you what I did. I saw that where the vent was, it was blowing sort of, across the bed, and there was a sprinkler hanging, over the bed. So I was like, all right, well, wait a minute. And the line of fire from the motion sensor also sort of aimed over the bed. And the reason for all of this is because it was a New York City hotel room. There was room for the bed. That was it, right? So obviously everything happened over the bed because that's all that you get in the room. You have to shimmy along or climb across the bed to get from one side of the room to the other. And so I haven't thought about this in a long time. So I had a shirt that I was going to wear the next day. I took that out of my bag. I grabbed a clothes hanger from the closet, and I hung the clothes hanger from the sprinkler. Again, I was aware of the risk of coming back to a soaking wet bed, right?
Yes.
I knew this. I took the chance. I hung my shirt, lightweight, just a t-shirt, from this hanger. But what would happen is when the air stopped, when the air was blowing, it was strong enough to put the t-shirt at an angle. And when it stopped blowing, the t-shirt would swing back and forth, trigger the motion sensor, kick it back on. It would hold it still until it kicked it back off again. Nice. And then it would start swinging and kick it back on. And I'm like, all right, this is as good as it's going to get. I got to go. Hopefully this works. And I came back to a really comfortable, pleasant room.
Good for you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's always a way to, when there's a will, there's a way. I was pretty proud of myself that night.
Well, at least, I'm assuming it was a regular hanger, not one of those anti-theft hangers.
I don't know, but it didn't matter. It was a very small little thing to hook it on.
Get it in there.
Yeah, I got it. Whatever it was, I got it in there.
The columnist George Will used to say he was so insulted by those anti-theft hangers, he would take them.
That's awesome. Chuck Joyner, I'm sure this is a tip that many people know, and I know Chuck from Mac Voices learned it from somebody else years ago, but Chuck posted a picture of a tip and blew my mind probably 10 years ago. I am someone who likes it to be dark in my hotel room when I sleep.
Yes.
And the curtains are rarely engineered such that you get enough overlap to hide the light gap that I'll call it. It's not an air gap, but it's the light gap. And what Chuck does, and lots of people do this, is you take the hanger that has the clips for your pants, the pants clips, and you clip those to clip the two ends of the curtains together, and you're good to go. So if you didn't already know about that tip, that might be even more important for you than messing with the thermostat. So, all right, back to tech-based cool stuff found, not travel-based cool stuff found. That was helpful, though, the travel-based cool stuff found. I hope it was helpful for you folks. It was certainly helpful for me. Rob tells us about something called Shortery that that allows you to automate your shortcuts on your Mac, because the Mac app for shortcuts does not have automations in it like the Shortcuts app on iPhone and iPad does. And Shortery fixes that problem by letting you automate your shortcuts on your Mac. It is available for free with some in-app purchases. I have not messed with this largely because I automate my shortcuts with Keyboard Maestro, but I figured there were several folks in the Discord using this, and I figured That's the beauty of a cool stuff found is we get to share it. So thank you for that, Rob.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hadn't heard of that one before.
No, same.
It's interesting.
It solves a problem, right? That's, my
Absolutely.
guess is this will be solved at some point by our friends at Apple, but I've learned to not apply an ETA to those guesses. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Tony has I don't know if it's a CSF or if it's a rumor, but it seemed interesting enough that I figured I'd put it in. That earlier this month, Ars reported that Apple might be launching a monitor that stays on when you shut down your Mac, so that you get like smart home displays and things like that on your monitor. Think whatever
Kinda
that
like
mode.
the Echo.
Yeah, kind of like the Echo, but also like your iPhone in bedstand mode, whatever it's called, the new thing that's coming in iOS 17, right? Where it's going to show you the weather and the time and all that while it's on your, while it's charging. So that kind of thing, it's it's the always on display kind of idea. So yeah, I thought that was.
Well, I hope they release an improvement to the S Lady to at least compete with the A Lady. If you're going to have a smart home display, make it smart, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. I've messed around. I have iOS 17 on a test device. I know I said I'm freshly, that this is coming out right after MacStock. Of course, I'm about to go to MacStock. We're recording this a little early. We also will be doing a live Mac Geek Gab at MacStock, or by the time most of you hear this, we'll have done a live Mac Geek Gab at MacStock. I don't know.
Come stump the dummies.
Including stump the dummies, but also we'll do the Mac Geek Gab caucus is the idea, where we go through a bunch of issues together. There'll be like 6 of us on stage. It'll be a blast. But I don't know if the audio from that is going to be like good enough to call an official episode, or if we need to just release it as like, hey, here's something that you might want to listen to. So I don't know if that'll be 993 or not, but we'll find out. Yeah. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, speaking of travel, we talked about this after CES. It's the Snap 3 Pro. I have had this on my phone since CES, and I take it for granted every single day. So
you've never taken it off?
I've never taken it off. And Pete,
I was going to take it off. These things on my phone. I don't like them. I don't want them.
Pete is not wrong, folks.
He did not. He goes, all right, so we can record the video of installing it for the review. I'll put it on my phone, but it's coming right off.
Yep. It has not left my phone in over 6 months at this point.
Mine neither. Yeah, I love these.
It is, if you know what a pop socket is, that's the function that this Snap 3 Pro from osnap.com, that's what it provides. However, it is much better than a pop socket because it's so thin that A, I don't notice it in my pocket.
It's
and
thinner
B,
than a nickel.
My MagSafe charger works going through it. So I'm able to leave this on my phone full time. I put it on my case, right? So I've had the same case on my phone too, which it speaks to the case. I think it's it's a spec case. It's the clear Presidio grip, which I love. It's awesome. And the back, even though the back has grip, the grip indentations on this case, and I'll put the specific model number in the show notes, the indentations go down in it. So it still works with MagSafe and obviously with this Snap 3 Pro thing. It's awesome. If you're watching the video, I'll pop it up, but just go and check it out on osnap.com.
It rotates freely. You can spin the phone while holding it.
Yep. I can hold my phone with it. I love this thing so much, and I've had it queued up to mention in the show for quite a while now because of how amazing it is, and so I am super happy to find it in my list. I completely forgot that I had it in the list.
Oh, there you go.
I'm so
and I
excited
do remember that you can take. It's got both. It grabs your case through both magnetic and glue, but it's a reusable glue. In other words, if you take it off, I think you just wipe it off, and the stickum re-engages
That's what
so
they say.
you get dust off it. I've
I
never
have
taken
yet to
mine
test
off to
this.
find out.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess when the iPhones 15 come out, that will be the day that I want to move it. So I will move it. But there you go. All right.
Home run there.
Yeah. Steve Hammond, speaking of phones, in a sense, tells us about a thing called YouGetSignal. He says, I wanted to, it is an open port check tool to check your network. It says, I wanted to make sure that port 80 and ports 443 were open on my router. And I used this tool called YouGetSignal. And we've got a link in the show notes, of course. And it's at yougetsignal.com. And he says, now I know what ports my ISP is blocking and not letting me use and all of that stuff. So yeah, thank you. I love tools like this. Super, super handy. Thank you for sharing that stuff.
At the risk of mentioning something else that needs to go in the show notes, is that similar to Shields Up?
Probably, but
okay.
I think with a different intent.
Okay.
Shields Up will tell you what's open and its intent is to help you secure your network. Okay. Its intent is to tell you, yes, you've got your port forwarding set right. I can get through into your network. Gotcha. Both are going to tell you the same thing, just with a different color,
different approach to it. Sure.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'll put Shields Up from GRC in the show notes too. That's a great tool. Yep.
Yeah.
For checking out your network. Yeah, exactly. Yep. You got one for us, Pete?
I do. So I stumbled across this not long ago when my daughter asked me, is there any way that you can take the watermark out of this photo for me? And I said, I'm thinking I'm going to take something like Acorn and smudge and work all that. And I'm like, but no, it just isn't going to work. And so I did a quick little search and I found watermarkremover.io.
Interesting.
It comes with a whole ethical host.
Oh yeah. This is a tool with very limited morally acceptable use cases.
Yeah. But there's no doubt it does an amazing job of taking the watermark out of the photos. And the problem was she had this photo that she wanted she liked this photo of herself. She wanted to keep one copy for herself on her iPhone. They wanted $100 for a photo set to get any of it.
Yep.
And it's like, so to me, I want to say to the photographers, okay, offer something else. Besides the $100 package, give someone a $5 or a $10 or a $20 package for that one photo of themselves.
Did she offer that to the photographer? Because that's the other side of this, is saying, hey, can I get a low res version of this just to use on my phone?
She did ask, and they said, nope, that's it. You get and it's like, so I don't know. Is it theft? Is it intellectual property theft? Maybe it
technically,
is.
I mean, if you're going to ask that question, I will answer it. But,
I think it is technically.
Yeah.
By the same token, photographers offer something to somebody for what they're asking. Make that possible. Yeah. Because otherwise you're going to lose out on $100 and someone's going to go remove their watermarks or you're going to lose out on the $5 or $10 or $20 for the one photo that they want. And that's money you could have.
It is fair, right? I mean, the conversation is interesting to have, because with these kinds of tools out there, the only thing stopping people from doing this is there's two things, right? Ethics, and B, ease of use, right? So as the tools get easier to use, friction, right? So there's ethical friction, and then there's sort of logistical friction. Technical friction, right? You got to go find one of these tools. There's probably 16 of them, and 14 of them don't do a great job. And you're going to spend some time going through a headache and all that. And it reminds me, as I'm sure it reminds many of you, of like the days of, say, Napster, right? And then Apple Music showed up, and Napster, as the service that allowed for peer-to-peer file sharing of songs, saw a huge decline the day that Apple Music started its, buy a song for $1 service, because people were like, oh, great, for $1, I'm not going to go through the headache of dealing with Napster. Right. But I don't want to buy an album for $20 just to pay
when
for
I want 2 songs off it. Yeah.
For 14 songs that I don't want for the 2 songs that I do want. Yeah, exactly. And that really hit home for me when my dad, I was at my dad's house and I'm like, Dad, you're running Napster on your computer? He's like, oh yeah, this is how I get, my friends and I share music with each other. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're friends. Right. Got it. Yeah,
300 million of them.
But he said, listen, all my life, I've had to buy I've paid for 9 songs I didn't want to get the 1 song I did want. Now I'm just recouping that investment. It's like, and obviously he knew that there was that legally that was not actually that would not hold up in court. But it was an interesting thing to see.
But what did Apple do? They offered what I'm saying. They offered something legal.
Bingo.
At a better price.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because most people will take the moral, ethical route, that which is quote unquote right, if you make it easy for them to do that. And is what you did here morally wrong? I mean, I think objectively, yes. But
yeah,
like I said, it brings up an interesting conversation.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
And I don't
whether or not I did it, the fact is watermarkremover.io is there and it will swipe your photos clean, photographers. So
yeah, and I'm not here judging, by the way. I'm being objective about this.
No, it's a fair conversation to have. People make good money as photographers, and I think it's getting harder and harder in this digital age for them to continue to make good money and not have their work ripped off.
Yep.
For lack of a better word.
I agree. Agreed. Agreed.
But be flexible in your packaging and people will pay.
People will pay.
I think. Yeah.
I think so. I think so for sure. Yeah. I got at least 2 things I want to mention. Number one, I talked about the Eve weather device, the one that I'm hanging outside, and I said that it was Wi-Fi. It's not. No, it's Matter and Thread.
Matter. Yeah, okay.
Correct. So I was like, oh, yeah, it's connecting via Wi-Fi to my network. No, it's connecting via Matter and Thread to my network. And so that was an important distinction I wanted to make. I need to do from a technical standpoint, I think I could describe what Matter is, but from I don't grok it. I need to work on that. So I will, and then I'll come back and explain it to you. If one of you has already grokked it, I'm sure you're out there. I'm sure I'm probably in the minority at this point. It's like regular expressions. I'm not, my brain doesn't like it. Doesn't want to let it in, but it will. I'll force it to let it in. Feedback at macgeekgab.com. So thank you for bearing with me on that. And then the next one I wanted to mention while we're here is a service that's probably not going to seem like it's going to hit my 20% mark, right? I have this 20% rule that things, I like to have them hit at least what I believe would be 20% of you. This one might not, but it's a service called SMTP, the number 2 GO, SMTP2go.com. SMTP is the protocol via which we send email, right? If you have your own domain and you want to send mail with it, but you're just getting it, say, forwarded from your ISP, right? You got a domain, you're just saying forward everything from this domain into my Gmail account, right? And there sometimes are ways that you can convince Gmail to send as your domain, but not always. It sometimes will ask you for an SMTP server. And if your domain host doesn't offer that, or you're not paying for that, then you don't have that. Enter SMTP to go. What this does is it becomes your SMTP server for you. And what's really cool about it is certainly, if you can send lots and lots of mail and pay, anywhere from, $15 a month all the way up. But if you go to SMTP to go, and this is something Rod L pointed out in our Discord, so thank you, Rod. and you drag the little slider all the way to the left to the $1,000, not the $1,000.
$1,000 a month.
That's the other way.
Cheap.
1,000 emails per month slider. It is $0 per month. So if you're not sending very much from whatever this custom domain is you have, this might be your magic answer. So I wanted to put it out there. It is SMTP2Go, and of course it's linked in the show notes. And it's, as I said, free for up to 1,000 emails per month. Which
every now and then, intermittently with PIA VPN, I will get hey, I can't send mail from this SMTP, or can't send it from this server. And if I turn off the firewall, the VPN, then it'll go. I'm wondering if I could use that.
See, and here's so Rod is actually in the live chat as we speak, and Rod says it's a great solution for Synology notifications. Right, because you need to send through an SMTP server. What are you going to send through? Bingo, here you go. So, like I said, hearing it, you might not think it applies to you, but now that you know about it, the next time you hit that little hurdle, you're going to be like, wait. The guys talked about this. What's it called? It's SMTP2Go. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully something in the episode today has helped. Oh, Rod L also points out SMTP2Go for those scanners that want to scan to email, right? You scan something and it sends you an email. You need to put an SMTP server in. Here you go. So the sign up's free, no credit card. They're obviously not sponsoring the episode if that's not clear.
Only $1,000 a month.
Only $1,000. Yeah, you could slide. Actually, can we slide the slider over and get it to $1,000 a month? What's the number? So at $1 million,
get to 520 professional, 1 million emails, 3 million custom.
Yeah, 3 million goes to custom. So I can get it up to 520 a month for 1 million emails. That's really not that bad, to be candid.
No, you're sending some serious traffic downrange at 1 million emails.
Yeah, but if
spamming somebody.
Well, or if you've got a mailing list of millions of people, right? Like,
sure. I mean, the huge enterprise companies. Yeah. Absolutely.
I like it.
And pretty soon, Dave, we're going to have that many listeners. I know it.
That's correct. And
you're going to need that.
We're going to need it. That's right. Yeah, sign up make us pay, make us hurt. Sign up at for our email at macgeekgab.com. We want to feel that pain.
Absolutely. Share the show with your friends.
Yes, please.
The world needs more geeks.
Yeah, as I like to say, you don't have to be a geek to listen, but if you listen long enough, you'll become one.
Now I are one.
And now Pete, yeah, that's right, Pete. You're a perfect example of this. That's very true. Thanks to CashFly for providing all the bandwidth to get the episode from us to you. You can follow us everywhere. You can follow us on Threads and Twitter, Mastodon. We'll put the links for Mastodon in the show notes. It's fun. And thanks for hanging out. Make sure to check out Pete's other show called So There I Was. My other two shows, of course, I mentioned Business Brain earlier and Gig Gab for musicians or people who are into music and kind of want to peek behind the curtain, if you will. Check out our sponsors, of course, HelloFresh.com/MGG50 and Notion.com/Mac Geek Gab. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, folks. It's been a blast.
Thank you.
We'll do it again.
This weekend, I bet.
You will do it again. Yeah, absolutely. We will have done it at MacStock by the time most people hear from it. And one thing I like to say, and we've been saying it for years, is what you've got written right there on our shirt, Pete. And that is, folks, please take care of yourselves. Please be kind to one another. Please share the show with your friends. And most of all, please don't get caught.
Made on Mac. You said it, Dave.
I did say it. It's true.